Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Chappie, how you doing?
Good. Hey, when you look at I realize you're focused ahead, but when you look at the body of work at the defense, I'm sure too many points given up, not good enough against the run consistently. But then you've got the shock plays, you got the sacks, you've got the takeaways, you got the interceptions. How do you square that? Why is one? How do they work not together? I guess I don't know.
Right. Well, you'd hope they would, right? I think there's different things that we look at. We try to find the truth with the points. There's been some games where we just haven't played well. We weren't on the same page earlier in the season, and we gave up some points. There were some sudden change opportunities. Where just like this past week, where's a sudden change, next thing you know, we're on the one. And in sudden change opportunities, we've got to be able to stand up as a defense. And earlier in the year, like the Cleveland game, there were some sudden change opportunities where we held them to field goals, but I think we look at those things, how do teams get in the points? At one point in time in the season, it was through explosives. And we're saying, hey, we got to calm them down to drop down the points. So I think like the last 5 games or so, if you look at the last 5 games, it's under 20 points a game. I think, somewhere in there, the turnovers, multiple sacks, multiple takeaways, so it feels like that part. We didn't play very well in Cincinnati. It was the screens that really hurt us, so each week we try to get ahead of it. But, we're just trying to keep those points down and then also, be active with our rush and getting takeaways.
One other thing on the sacks, it's always great to have that guy that gets you 15, 16, whatever. As a coordinator, do you take a little bit of satisfaction when it is sort of by committee? It's 13, 14 guys are sharing in this.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that I think in training camp, Chappie, that we'd like to get it to where we're rolling with 8 guys, and we can just substitute and keep guys fresh. And if you can get to that point, sometimes you see those sacks spread out. And, that's kind of what we envisioned is taking place where, guys are getting multiple chances to get pressure on the quarterback. So that part of the vision, I think, is coming through where it is going to be, you never know which guy it is. And then it's hard to target, one guy like some teams do if he's the, 18, 19 sack leader. Now, if you'd ask our D line, they all want to be that guy, right? But I think they've handled it pretty well. They understand that, when it works together with the coverage, we get more opportunities. So, yeah, I think, Nate and Matt and Brian Bing, they've all done a great job with the D line, but really it's the D line that's done it. Those guys have done a great job taking ownership in that.
Thanks, guys.
Joel?
How much credit should Nate Ollie get for like helping? You kind of had Dio and Quiddy and Sampson kind of all figure out who they are as rushers, if that makes sense this season. How much credit does he get for helping them kind of figure out, who they are as rushers?
Well, it is. That's a great question. I think that works hand in hand. When you have great success, nor should a coach take all the credit. I don't believe that. I think, ultimately the players have to make the plays and the players are making the plays out there. But the hand in hand part is, yes, it does take coaching to at least put them in position to use the right technique and to mesh it all together. So it does work hand in hand in that part. And Nate and Matt and Brian, like I said earlier, do a great job of studying and coming up with the rush plan. And the players are doing a great job of executing it. And, they're talented guys on the D line, and it's cool to see that it works together. So I think we're very excited for our players, to have the success that they're having up front.
Raven?
So after the game, I talked to Julian and I asked him just how big was last Saturday's defensive performance, especially compared to how you guys played in Cincinnati. He said, we don't want last game to be what people think we are. And so how big is it to be able to get that performance against Pittsburgh, but also continue to show everyone, hey, that week 14 game was an outlier. We are much better than what we put on film.
Yeah, I think it is. It's, it's a long season. There's going to be games where, plays here or there that, like we said, the screens were a big issue in the Cincinnati game. And, to see us come back, Pittsburgh tried a couple screens and, Zaire almost picked the one. So I think it shows improvement by the guys. I think that they're, we're always capable of doing it. So it's good to see, if you had issues the previous week, the next week teams is a copycat league and that we played them pretty well. So, I think Julian's right. I think that, it didn't define us. It was a scar, but, we all have scars from games, but, to come back like we did and play better was a great sign.
Nate?
Hey Gus, what have you learned about Nick Cross just in the past couple games now, seeing him out on the field and playing a lot?
Well, Nick is through practice earlier in the year has shown marked improvement. I think his concentration level, I think his endurance from play 1 to play 70 or play 1 and play 20 in practice has shown that, he can concentrate and play at a high level through the whole length. And I think that's when we said, we got to find a way to get him on the field. And we started slow with him just by creating a dime package, but it's evolved. Now, credit to Nick. I mean, he's got to know backup nickel, backup strong, backup free. And there's a lot on his plate. And at times he doesn't get the reps. That play that he intercepted, Rodney Thomas has intercepted that pass against Minnesota. Nick hasn't gotten a lot of those reps. So for him to go out there and play it like he did was pretty cool, because he does have a lot on his plate, but he executed his assignment perfectly there. So, I think we're excited about his development, where he was and where he's at now. And, he's just got to continue, because we're leaning on him in multiple ways.
Just as a quick follow-up, with plays like the KZ hit on Michael Pittman, what do you guys coach as far as like telling defenders ways to make impact plays without, risking that kind of a penalty?
Right. It is hard. We've gone through it for years now. I mean, I've been on it where we've had those phone calls with the NFL and showing just exactly how we teach it, how we coach it. And, it's just the way it is. You got to take the head out. And sometimes you get in difficult positions, but I think it's a mindset that, hey, any way I can avoid it, I can. There's times when it happens where it appears like it's, you can't avoid it. It's such a bang, bang play. But I think that if you have a chance to make that conscious decision, that you have to find a way to take the head out of the game. That's how we coach it. And then there's certain techniques that go along with it.
Thanks, Gus.
Last one, James.
Gus, Nick Cross had a funny story about how he got pretty close with the D-line when he was going through some of the ups and downs of last year. And this year, he's always hanging out with those guys. Did you notice any of that in the moment? And if so, what does it say about guys like Taekwon Dio and others to see a young guy, going through some changes and being willing to help him out, even if he pretends to be a defensive lineman?
Right. Well, I think what Nick did was, he values that veteran presence. He has it with a Kenny Moore. Last year, he had it with a Stephon Gilmore, Julian Blackman. And he will go to any position group to, ask those types of questions or to get a veteran presence. And there's quite a few, right, on the defensive line that have gone through some ups and downs. So a guy like Taekwon, who's gone through some injuries and how he's bounced back through adversity. So, yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Nick has gravitated towards those guys just to help build his mindset for what he was going through.